Okay, fine. So today's session will be a light session, right? We are just going to revise few concepts. We are going to take a look at few things that a developer should be aware of, right? Hey, hi Pranay. Yeah, thanks for joining. So this is the agenda for today's session. Okay, we will take a look at what is data versus what is metadata as in concept wise, and as a practical as well. We'll see what does it mean. Then we'll talk around object. Then for given object, what are the details you should be aware of? This will be very high level. I won't be going in very detail at this point in time. Okay, we are already learning in various sessions. Then different types of object, a data model, data dictionary that we are working on with respect to our assignments or our project. Then what is a schema builder? How we can take a look at the relationship via schema builder. Then we will also take a look at how the code flows when we develop in the real world, right? Few of us, those who are in the industry, they are aware of all these things, but those who are freshers or those who are like not into the industry yet will be a good learning for them. And those who are already working, they will get to know like how it behaves or how it is different when it comes to Salesforce being a cloud based CRM, right? Then we'll also talk little around what are the different versions and licensing, because see, we all are working on a free edition, right? So we should be mindful of that we do not consider this as a hard line, or do not carry that concept like, okay, this is having this limit, so it will apply to everything. It's not the case. Okay, so we'll talk little around that as well. Then the most important topic for today is like how we will be using Visual Studio Code for fetching details from your Salesforce org to your local machine, and vice versa, right? From your local machine, deploying it back to your Salesforce org or any other org. So that is main agenda for this. Then we'll just take a look at the data loader.io, which is again browser based. I know few of us we have already learned the data loader, but that was using data loader tool. So we'll just talk around some data loader IO, how it works. If there are any questions, queries around that, we'll take that questions, and we'll take a scenario wherein if we load the data and if it is failed, how to check that failure record and how to correct that. Then if time permits, we'll take a look at this. Otherwise, this we'll skip. Okay, we pulled it. So okay. So this is our Salesforce UI, right? Specifically for newbies who are like from this batch 2, right? Now you must be aware of all this UI. You know the UI. So I am just asking this question to Komal, Prajakta, Rohan, Malay, and Rishi. Okay. Can you tell me what are the things available here? I want to know like what is your data dictionary from technical standpoint. Can you tell me what is this
App launcher.
App launcher.
app launcher? Then
App
this is our app.
Application. Yes.
What is this?
object. Tab.
Objects inside that.
So again here, right? I just want to clear your
Navigation.
doubts, right? This is
Tab.
this is the tab, correct? Navigation is also
Okay.
there, but so this is a tab. So tab does not always mean object, although 90% cases it is object, right? It can be a
Okay.
web tab as well. So there are various types of tabs. You may want to go through that. So how you can check like what are the different types of tabs where you need to go for creating tab? What is our developer toolbox? Where is our developer toolbox?
In that gear icon setup menu.
Yeah, gear and setup. Setup is our area, right, for developers. So gear setup, and then you can navigate to tabs. So here there are two things. So I want you to explore this, and this tabs is the tabs which will tell you like, okay, what are the different types of tabs you can create. So many things are there, right? It's not only the object always. And rename tabs, you should be exploring that. Okay, then what else? We have seen setup as well. This is your dictionary, this is your own dictionary, right? What else you see here? So someone pointed out this is a navigation, right? So what type of navigation is this?
Standard navigation
And what is
and
the
console.
other navigation type?
Cons-
Console,
console navigation.
console navigation. Okay, what is this? The data we are seeing here, what is this called?
Rec- records.
These are records, but what is this layout is called, like where we are seeing these records?
In a tab.
No, this is just, what is this? This what we are seeing here. If I change it, I can see another set of records, right?
List view.
List view, right? Technically, this is list view.
uh,
Think like a kid, right? What is this everywhere? What are these?
Create view.
Create view is a setup gear where you can create new view or you can change the
Add
things,
a
right?
record. Add a record inside that
This is, but these are
service.
called list view buttons. Okay,
Okay. uh,
and list view buttons are something it will remain common for all the list views. It won't change. So remember this thing. This is very tricky. If you create a button for list view, then it will be available for all the list views. You cannot hide show. Okay, so list view buttons is something which is very important. Okay, what else you see in the UI? What is this called?
Global search box.
This is global search. So there is a global search, and what is this? This is a quick find, right?
Quick
For
find.
our developers purpose, whatever elements we have available. Can anyone tell me why it is called global search? See, if I search here, it will search only within these records, right? But if I search here, it will search for all the objects, not one or two objects. It will search in opportunities, accounts, users, whatever your custom objects, everywhere it will search. That's why it is called global search. And this behind the scene, it is using SOSL queries. So for new people who we will be learning that SOQL versus SOSL. But remember one thing, you can write a query which will fetch data from multiple objects. That's where we call it as a SOSL. So behind the scene, it is using SOSL. If someone asks you, give me the example of SOSL from Salesforce UI, so you can tell global search is using that, right? Okay. Any other things that you see here on the UI? If I click on a particular record, what we see? This is called record page from Lightning page, right? Because it is showing the individual record. Okay, now quickly I'll move on to one more question. So when we talk about SF IDs, okay. So if I say 001, 003, 006, 00500, can anyone tell me what are these records from which object? Just looking at 3 digit.
001 is for account.
Okay, good. 003, 006. So why I'm telling this is just to whenever you are working, just be careful and have a look here. So this is our 18-digit ID for records in Salesforce, right? But first 3 digit can tell you from which object it is. So 006 is for opportunity. I have renamed it to service request. Okay, that's where you will explore that renaming tabs and labels. So in my org, opportunity is renamed as a service request. So 006 is that. If I go to cars and if I click on any other record from car, so it is showing AO or A05. So whenever you are working now, you just keep an eye like, okay, on the URL, what is this? Sometimes this helps. Okay. Now let's talk around data and metadata. Okay. Now when I go to any tabs where this is the object tab, right? If I create a new record, so whatever entry I do here, and when I save this record, it is nothing but a data, right? Because we are capturing some information about somebody. Okay. Now what is the metadata? Can anyone tell what is metadata? I'm not asking about the metadata type object. What is just metadata? What does it mean?
Data about data.
Okay, data about data. Perfect. Concept wise, that is correct, right? Now, what does it mean by data about data? So, when we see, like, okay, this is a record. So, actual data is this, but this data is related to what? This is actually storing the name, details about the name. So, this is called your metadata. So, whatever object and the object attributes, suppose you are creating a name, a text field, right? So, if I go to object, and I have to navigate to setup, right? So from gear icon, I'll navigate to setup. I'll go to object manager. Here I go to account, and whenever I see all these details, right? So details about this object, is it storing actual data about that record? No, it is storing the data about what this object details are. So all these things, these are called data about data. It will tell more about like what type of data you are storing, what are the properties of that data, whether it is unique value, whether it is required. All those things fall into the bucket of metadata. Okay, any questions around this? When we move to the VS code, you will come to know like how metadata is different from the actual data. Okay. Okay, now the next thing I wanted to talk about is object and its detail. So we know where we need to navigate for checking on the object. So this is our place, right? This is our area, object manager. Here you can search for any object by its name. Here you can create a new object, right? And when I go to any object, I can see what are the details about the object. So what generally we do is like, okay, now we have To create a field, we'll go to the field manager and we'll create a new field. That's it. Right? When we need to do the history tracking, we go to the set history tracking. But do we try to explore like what is a deleted field? Has anybody tried what is a deleted field and why it is useful? Where it will be useful, right? So you should be mindful or watchful. Like okay, new is there, but what is this deleted field? If I click on here, what it will show? You can read about this small details, right? See, Salesforce start to hard delete this field after 15 days. You must have learned about recycle bin, right? If I delete a record, I can retrieve it from the recycle bin. But has anybody wondered like how many days I will be able to retrieve? Or it is like permanently I can retrieve. After 1 year also I will be able to retrieve, right? From day one we are hearing that okay, Salesforce is a cloud CRM and it comes with a governor limit. So everything has got limits. Things are available for certain threshold. It may be storing the deleted records, it may be creating number of fields, it may be adding number of fields in the list view. So recently you have worked upon history tracking as well, right? So I have one question around that as well. But are you getting my point? What I'm trying to say, right? Try deleting one of the field. Try to delete standard field. Try creating custom field and delete that. Create a field, add some data and try deleting that. Create a field, add that field in the formula field and then try to delete that. So there are various scenarios and that's how you will start, getting the questions. Don't just go by what we are telling. Try to do something weird. Getting my point? Can anyone tell me like why when I will come to this deleted fields and I'll see the field, what will be that scenario? Well, as of now it says there is no field, deleted field. Malay, can you tell me like when I'll be able to see a field in the deleted fields? Here if I navigate, I will be able to see a field.
We delete some of count count fields.
Okay, if I delete one of this field, then it will be available here. And then if it is making it available here, what would be the purpose of this?
We can retrieve that.
It is
We can get it back up to
Yeah,
15 days.
undelete for
yeah,
undelete purpose.
correct. So we can put it back. So suppose by mistake if you delete and if you want to retrieve it back, you can do that. But when we are deleting or undeleting, we have to be very careful. Suppose I delete a field, what will happen to the data, right? So this kind of things you have to do it practically. So what you can do, create one field, delete it, undelete it one more time. Create a field, create some records, feed in some data, delete that, then again undelete. Take a look. Create a field, add it somewhere in the formula or roll up summary and try to delete. Whether it allows to delete or it throws an error saying, okay, this is referred somewhere, right? So these things will clear your doubt about deleting a field and undeleting a field. What will happen to the field and what will happen to the data that is with the field. What will happen if that field is referenced somewhere? Will I be able to delete or not delete that? Okay. So you will try out all this scenario. I'll put those things. Akanksha, you're getting the things right.
Yes.
With data and without data. Then adding field in some formula field or roll-up summary. Fine, this is all about deleting fields. Now I was about to ask a question related to history. So recently you have started giving the or enabling history tracking, right? So can anyone from batch 2 tell me, if I say enable history tracking, how many fields I can set history tracking, or is it like all fields I can do? Have you tried like giving history tracking to all the fields? Prajakta, did you try like breaking the limit?
Yeah, I tried, but I didn't see the limit.
So let's see what it says. So field history tracking can be enabled maximum 20 fields. And whenever you get this kind of error, na, simply what you can do, copy paste this error into Google, add Salesforce. This will tell you like how people are facing this issue and what is the workaround they are using. Always try to follow Salesforce Tag Exchange. If you get the error and stop there and you just make a mindset, right? Okay, or only up to 20. What if business asks about 20 first field, 22nd field? What options I have? These are all the questions you should come up with, and then we can have a proper discussion around that, right? That's where the solutioning comes into picture. That's where your value is proven, right? You are just not telling me okay 20 is a limit. Then what if business says okay I need 5 more fields? We cannot say business like okay this is a limit, we can't do anything. We can always tell business that okay boss, this is a limit. If you want to go for more, then there we need a customization, and that will take some efforts. What it will be, that is a different question, right? Or that is a different use case. But there is nothing in Salesforce that will stop you from doing customization. The only thing is you need to take a wise call when we need a customization, when we don't need a customization. Okay, so this is where we see the limit. Can anyone tell me limit number of fields in the list view? Now you are working on this, right? More from past few days. How many fields I can have in a list view? Let me go fields. Is there any limit on number of fields or there is no limit? So see, don't panic at times. Suppose if you are in an interview or if you are talking with some client, whenever client asks, okay, I need few more fields into this, or whenever you are asked like, okay, what is the limit? So you can tell, yes, there is a limit, but I might not be recalling the exact number of count, because we know most of the time in Salesforce there are some of the other limits. But you are sure there is a limit, and what is the number that you are aware of, you can confidently tell, okay, boss, there is a limit of 12 fields, 15 fields, 14 fields, right? Let's try to see if there are many fields available here. See what it is saying? You can display up to 15 fields. Let's try. Now see why they have kept limit. Looking at the UI, you will imagine now if I see I am not able to see the names. properly. If I increase the thing, then I have to again scroll, horizontal scroll will be there. So it is not user friendly. That's where they have kept the limit. Even if they say okay, you can have 50 fields here, is it worth having 50 fields from the user experience standpoint? No. I don't like that view, right? 50 fields, I have to scroll every row here and there, and then I need to look at the data. No point in that, right? So limits are there, but with certain standards into consideration. But again, if suppose someone wants explicitly 50 fields, that can be done with customization, but not with the standard list view. For same goes for your history tracking. If someone wants history tracking for more than 20 fields, we need to see what all options are there. Is there anything out of box available with a higher license? Is there anything that we can do with the customization? Then how many fields we can do with the customization? It- Options are there. You just need to think around that. Okay, clear around the limits and what kind of mindset you should be carrying. Right, that's where you will come up with the questions and queries. Okay, so what I was telling, like, okay, new and deleted fields. So you see, right, just for deleted fields there can be multiple scenarios. Same goes for field dependencies, set history tracking. Same goes for all these tabs. Start exploring these things. Go to each tab, navigate. If you don't understand, try to copy this field set. Go to Google and search for that field sets in Salesforce. Right, few of the things you can come back to us, we can tell okay, this is not really needed, you can skip that. But from your standpoint, you should be exploring all these details, so that at least you remember, okay, what is this, what is around these things, like what is the object limit. Okay, now I'll tell you one thing. You already have learned about objects, right? What are the different types of objects that you are aware of? Can anyone tell me?
Standard object, custom object.
Okay, standard and custom object, right? Have you heard about setup non-setup object? Has anyone heard about this? Right, so within standard there are two types. One is setup, other is your non-setup. This is your standard, this is your setup, and this all comes into same area, right? This is all belongs to our standard objects only. So setup means what? Suppose you are setting up a new business as well, right? Few things are mandatory. You need a space, you need some address where your business you will start, right? It's a different thing that you want to have some people hired or you want to work on your own, right? So whatever things is optional or additional, that is called non-setup. Whatever field, whatever thing is must, is called setup. Getting my point? So whenever we say the things which are must to run the show or to work on, it is called setup. Say there is an instrument which works on the power supply. If there is no power supply, will that instrument work? That is where we call it as a setup. So in that context, can you relate this with the Salesforce? So when I look at this UI, right? When I work with this UI, when I create a new user, what things are must for a user to have? Can we create a user without role? Anyone, feel free. Yeah, just make it interactive, right? Can we create a user without a role?
No.
Okay. Can we create a user without profile? Recently you tried creating user, right? So this is the kind of observation that I want to bring you in, right? Suppose if I want to go, I'll come back to that setup non-setup, but this is a basic thing. Suppose I want to go here and I want to create a new record for say car. What I'll do, I'll not fill in anything. I'll also ignore this asterisk which says this is mandatory or required. I'll just hit on save. It will tell me what are the required things, correct? The simplest way to identify which are the required things for any record to be created. So for again coming back to our setup non-setup, right? So when I want to create a user, what is that is mandatory? Is it a role or a profile or both or none of this? Am I confusing you or what?
Profile is mandatory.
Exactly. Profile is mandatory. Is role mandatory?
No.
Role is optional. Okay. So okay, that is again that this concept is optional. The only thing which we want to relate here is whatever UI we have with the Salesforce, right? For this, for user to log in, user will need some things which is pre-existingly available in the Salesforce. So profiles, permission sets, right? These are kind of things which are called setup. You can always go and explore like what are other objects. So this will always be available. Those who are from batch one can relate, right? Even in the test classes, we don't have access to the actual data, but we do have access to the setup objects. We don't need to create setup objects like profiles, right? So that's where within standard object as well, you will see these two categorization, setup and non-setup. So what will be the non-setup then? Prajakta, can you give it a try? What will be the non-setup objects?
Whatever the fields are not optional, all are the non-setup.
Any example? Objects, huh? Don't go by fields. This is all about objects.
Sorry, sorry.
You know the answer. So we are working with few standard objects, right? Can you tell few names?
Like for car model is not uh,
No, that is a custom
and
object, right? I am talking about standard object, which you don't create.
Account,
It is, yeah,
yeah, like
account.
goal, account.
Goal is again custom object
role,
we created,
Sorry,
right?
case.
Case, account,
account,
contact,
lead.
Yes.
lead. All these are nothing but the non-setup objects.
Hmm.
Okay, so once you explore this in detail, come up with the questions, right? Once you explore this with the details, then we can always discuss, okay, what is setup, what is non-setup. Are you getting the concept or you still need another, discussion around this? Okay, I'll put it here. Okay, now we talked about object types as well. I am not going in the details, right? There are various object types. There are external objects, big objects, custom metadata object, custom setting objects. Various objects are there. We'll eventually learn those one by one. I don't want to, bombard with all those details in one go. It will not be useful. Now, okay, data model and data dictionary. So I have already given you the data model and data dictionary, right? So when we say a data model or data dictionary, see, concept wise, what is a data dictionary is in industry, whenever we have, say, multiple objects or multiple object for storing the records, we do maintain the attributes for each object, and that's where it becomes a data dictionary. It's like your dictionary, right, where you have some words and their meanings. Like that, your field is your word, and attributes about that fields, that will become your dictionary. So let me navigate to. So this is our data dictionary, right? Where we say, okay, I have age of car is a field, and for this field, what are the other things? So what is the API name? What is the data type? Whether it is required or not required? What should be the default value? Whether we need a default value or not? Do we need to encrypt this field or not? Right? All these are attributes or information around that. So can anyone tell me whether this is a data or metadata?
Metadata.
Exactly. Now you're getting the difference between data and metadata, right? So this is all metadata around that field. If it is a pick list, what are the values? What are the sample things that I have put in here? Whether we need a history tracking enabled or not. There are various other things, right? Whether the field needs to be unique, whether it needs to be external ID, whether if it is a master detail field, do I need reparenting? Various things are there with related to field, but few of these are very important. Whenever you are creating a new field, you must be asking question to yourself whether it is always required, whether it needs some default value, is it storing some personal information, then do we need to encrypt that, right? All these questions you should be asking to business or asking it to yourself or your team lead. If he asks you to create a new field, always go through all these details before directly going in and creating. Okay, so this is where we are maintaining this data dictionary, and I have purposefully not given the data types for many of the fields, if you see here, because I want you to come up with your own thought process. If I say address line 1, what will be your thought process? What type of data you are getting into this field, and what will be the right data type with your justification, right? If you say, okay, text 255, why you want to have it text 255, why it can't be text 80 or 100 or 150, right? Think through these things, like never go for like the higher limits. Can anyone tell me how many characters we can store in the text area long?
1,30,000 something.
Correct, exactly. Can anyone tell me what is the difference between text and text area? See, listen carefully. On text also we can have 255 characters. On text area also we can have maximum 255 characters. Then what is the difference between text and text area? So check on this. So this is very simple thing, right? Text, and I'm sure every one of you must have this question sometime or other, but this will, because the limit is same 255 characters, then why there are two? right? Any questions around data dictionary, why we are maintaining that? Now you must be knowing few things around any field. What are the different attributes we have? Right? At least you know 3 4 attributes on the field, right? What is mandatory, default, encryption, then history tracking is required or not required, right? Data is unique or non-unique. All these things are, at least you should know 4 5 things around any field. Okay, so this data model we are going to uh, use across our batch duration. I'm happy that you already started creating and you are almost done with most of the objects. We will take a look at it now. If I create all these objects and now I want to see my created objects and what is the relationship between those, right? So there is easiest way which Salesforce provided. I just need to navigate to my area, developer area or toolbox, whatever you call it as, and there is something called schema builder. So schema builder will show you all the objects that you want to see, and you can see the relationship between them. See, I have taken only those objects which are relevant to our project. There are various things here, right? If you see here, you can select few objects, you can select all standard objects, you can see all custom objects, right? You can also take a look at system objects. Go through each and everything, try to understand. If you don't understand, come up with a query, then we will tell you like, okay, whether you need to know this or not, because that's why we all are learning. Even I am learning. Salesforce is very vast and we don't expect you to know each and everything, but at least you should be aware of, okay, there is something called system objects. What is that, when it is used, irrespective of that you should be aware like, okay, there is something called this, but I have never used. Okay, even I have never used this option. So here, have you tried understanding like what is this arrow, what is this arrow, right? What are the types of it does indicate, right? Is it a master detail or it's a lookup? You must have gone through the junction object as well. So this is the best place to see the data relationship or the relationship between the object. Now, what are the differences between the relationship? What are the pros and cons? When to use master detail? When to use lookup? These are all the questions, right, that we will be finding answers during working on this project. Whether we really need a master detail or do we do away with the lookup things when we need a junction object, because mainly we are looking at only these three relationships, right? So if you have created objects, I would advise you to go here and try to select all your objects, and then you will see here you can just check. Even if you scroll, it will show. Malik, can you tell me, suppose if I want to, on opportunity, I want to have a field which will again have a relationship with opportunity itself. So say parent child kind of opportunity, one opportunity related to another opportunity. What is that relationship is called?
Self relationship.
Correct, that is self lookup. It's a lookup only, but it is self lookup. Okay, good. So this is where you can see the relationship. Now we'll come to our main part. Okay, so code flow will take this. So This also will take after this. Now the important thing I wanted to show you is how to use VS Code. So for VS Code installation, we do have another session which is recorded. I'll share that link. Or you can even go to Trailhead and search for like using VS Code or VS Code setup for Salesforce. Okay, few things. See, few of the things you have to be doing instead of few. I'll say most of the things you should to be doing on your own. That way you will learn to be independent, right? If you face any challenges issues, definitely we are there to help you out. Okay, but I'm not going to tell you how to set up VS Code today, but I'll tell you like how to use VS Code and what is the use case. Now say this is the data model. We see this data model which is already created on this org. This is my org, right? I have created this. Now I want this data model to be created on some other org. So I'll log into that other org as well. So Komal, I am using your org that you yesterday created, right? In case you get code, just ping me that in the WhatsApp. So meanwhile, I am logging in. Are you getting my question? Akanksha, are you getting the question? Komal, you can just share me the code.
I have shared you on WhatsApp.
No, you must have received one code OTP on your email.
Okay, okay, one second.
Yeah. Komal, did you get that OTP verification code?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, you can ping me on WhatsApp or you can just.
30
Okay, yeah, tell me. 30.
300
Hmm,
Zero 982.
Correct, right? 3000982. So this is my say new org, and okay, let me see if I have those custom objects. So I'll navigate to schema. Okay, this is the problem. So if I navigate to schema builder, I'll just first thing I'll clear all. I'll go to custom objects. Oh, so you already created in this org. I asked you to create a new org. I think this org already has the objects, right, Komal?
I think it's on another account. Sorry.
Do you have another account?
Yes.
Yeah, can you share that credentials? I'll just log out from here. So see, meanwhile, what I am trying to say here is, so this is say one environment or one sandbox or box. These are the terminologies we use, right? When we refer to any environment or any login credentials, it is specific to one environment or a sandbox. That's what we call it in the Salesforce world, right? Now, what my question is, suppose I have few details like a object fields created on this environment or this org, and now I want to move it. So now I want to move from this to this. So there are two things that I can do, right? One thing is doing a data migration. Another thing is we can call it as a metadata migration. So metadata meaning you can think of objects, fields, page, layouts, etc. Other than data, anything other than the actual data is called metadata, right? Today we are going to take a look at how to migrate the metadata from one environment to another environment and why. So Akanksha, I was asking you one question, right? Suppose now these many objects with so many number of fields, what will be your estimation to create all these objects? And if there are standard objects, we just need to create fields. So looking at the data dictionary, if I say there are 144 fields needs to be created, what will be your estimation? Will you be able to do it in 10 minutes, 1 hour, 1 day, 2 day, 1 week?
I haven't tried those options. Like I only know right now only the manual
Yeah,
process.
that's what I am asking about, the manual process only, right?
Might be 2 hours.
2 hours for 144 fields, sure.
Yeah, 2 to 3 hours at max.
Okay, what about you, Prajakta? What do you think?
Mm, 2 days.
Okay, 2 days. Okay, now one is saying 2 hours, one is saying 2 days. That's fine, right? Based on your own experience. I would say 2 hours is very optimistic, right? Because there may be a pick list field with 100 pick list options, and you are adding those options relationships while creating all those things. At least it will take a day or two from my point of view, right? Someone might be able to create in 1 hour or 2 hours. That's different thing. We are talking about in general terms. So if I say okay, 1 day or 2 day for creating this, now what if I have to create instead of this, I have to create say tenfold more. What will be my estimation? So currently I am taking 2 days of effort, right, Akansha? If I am increasing 10 folds the field number of fields and objects, it will increase in that amount, right? So for 2 hours or 2 days into 10, it will be taking 20 man days, working days, correct? I hope everyone is following. Malay, are you following this? Shubham,
Yes, sir.
Ankush, you are following this? What I am talking about is creating the same set of objects on another org. How much time it will take? So based on your experience, suppose you are taking 2 days to create this much of object and fields, then if there are okay 10 more objects, you might take 20 days. Now this is for one environment, right? Akanksha, what if there are 10 such environment?
Lot of time will be required.
It will be in the multiplying effort, right?
Multiple. Yeah.
Malay, Rishi, are you following? If you are not following, please ask question, right?
Yes.
See, when the things go in multiple folds, the efforts will increase. Now I am just trying to explain you the simple concept of automation, correct? Whenever we see a kind of work is repetitive, we try to automate that. That's where software development comes into picture, right? Now again, now there is one more thing. Suppose if I am say creating it manually, what about the accuracy and errors? Say I am doing it post lunch, I am feeling sleepy, and instead of select, I forgot to select the history tracking. I forgot to instead of text I selected text area. Instead of 80 characters, I left it 255 characters. What about those manual errors, right? Will it be high or low? Or are you damn sure, like, okay, if I do it manually, there won't be any errors?
Ample amount of errors will be there.
Perfect. It varies from person to person, right? A person can do it accurately once in like 1 crore or 2 crore people, right? We are bound to make mistakes. If we are doing it manually, definitely there will be some or the other mistake going to happen. If not, you have to check it thoroughly, right? If there is anything is missing, again it's a very big amount of time it will take to find out that missing thing. If something is not working, suppose you created it manually on another sandbox, and then you realize okay something is not working as expected, then you have to go through each and every field. Imagine the kind of work, right? You have to navigate to each and every field and attributes, and again you have to go to the sandbox. So for looking at one field, what efforts it takes, right? Suppose I want to go to object manager, then I want to navigate, okay, there is some error in goal object. I have to go to goal object, fields, individual fields, okay, go to this field and check the attributes. So you are getting my point, the amount of efforts it will take. So now if you are the one who is asked to do this activity, what you will do? You'll stay in office or take leaves. You would want to work on this, or you want to automate it. What if I'll tell you like there is one way you can do it in say 2 3 hours for this, but once that is ready you can do for rest of them in a minute and without any error. What option you will choose,
By
manual or
cloning it or
automatic?
what?
Yeah.
By cloning it?
By
Clone.
so see, clone is within that only, right? Cloning is for record. Now we are talking about metadata. You are right, Ankush. Why we can clone is like clone is only for say particular record, not for the metadata from one or to another. We are talking about say see what you are talking is this. So I go to this record and I want to clone. There is some feature called clone, right? We don't have this here, but there is a feature. If I want to clone this, it will create another record, but it will create in the same org. Now our use case is one org to another org, and that too creating objects. So the concept clone applies here, but how we are cloning, that is a different thing, right? Are we cloning using some VS code or there are some other options to clone that? What are the options to move data or metadata from one org to another org, to another org, to another org, to multiple orgs in short? I hope everyone is following, or do you want to repeat me this section? Malay, are you following this? I'm not sure if Malay is there. Nikhil, are you following all this one?
Yes.
Any questions you have? Okay. Swati, are you following this? What I'm telling?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is pretty straightforward. Like simply you can see like I want to do same amount of work to replicate that thing in other multiple sandboxes. Now what is the option I have? So there are multiple options. One is using your chain set, another one is using VS code, another one is using unmanaged package, right? So when I say you need to replicate this thing on this sandbox or any other sandbox, now you need to be very sure your efforts will go in getting the right data. So now what you need a list of components. This is called component. Each of this field is again a component. Each object is a component. So you need to know the list of component so that you don't miss on any of the component. That is where your efforts will go, getting the proper number of components. And once you get that component, you can use any of these things. So what we need is components, and what action we'll do is we'll bundle those using either of these things, either chain set or VS code or unmanaged package. These two things I'll leave it for you to explore. Chain set maybe we'll show you in one of our sandbox because this won't be available with normal developer orgs. This is what we are going to see. What is VS code and how we can migrate metadata from one org to another org. Okay. Do we have any questions or you want to see like how we can do that? Okay. Now I'll don't take much of your time. I'll just navigate to VS code. So VS code for setup again, as I told you in the beginning, right? You can go through what is setup and how you can do that. Now, if you see here and if you see here, right? What I have done is I have created one connection with one of the org that Shashikant is teaching you, right? And now once I connect with that org, I can fetch the information. Any one of you want to share your credential? I can show you like how I can connect. Or Komal, do you have any other box? Have you shared that credential? Okay, you shared one. Let me check.
It's
Uh,
not user, it's
is
verification.
use. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, now you might get again that verification code.
716
716
436 36.
436. Okay. Okay, now why it is showing this? There's no other thing. Have you created another user or what?
It's another user.
No, 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 not another user. I want another environment. Okay, any one of you who have not created any objects. So, Rishikesh, have you created objects in your org? The custom objects?
Yes, I have created student object.
Only student, no other object,
Yes.
right? From data dictionary.
No.
Can you share your credential on WhatsApp?
Yes.
Maybe you can just ping me. And there are big projects on this only, right? This task only. I have done couple of projects only for data migration, so you can imagine how important this is. And companies are getting projects for this. It's not an easy job, and when it comes to complete migration, it is very tricky. Your password is, I think it's username is correct, right? Rishi at the rate force.com.
Yes.
Password is correct, or is there
I'm
anything
checking.
capital or small?
I'm checking.
Yeah,
Checking. Hmm. No, it's not capital.
it's all small, right?
Huh. All small.
The password is same. Or
Yes.
check it using inspect element if you have saved it. No,
Mm,
no, this is, oh, I think it's because
no, I'm able to log in with this.
let me check it one more time. I think it was taking the previous URL. No, why it is giving me error.
I'm able to log in here.
It's IOP, right?
Yes, yes. First line,
Yeah, but it
all
is
small.
not first full line, right? U is not there.
No, 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 no. Total
Total.
means
That's where. That's where. I
ha
think
ha
you
ha
missed that
ha
one,
ha.
right?
Yes, yes. Sorry, sorry. Ha
Now it should work. Yeah.
ha ha.
This is called debugging, right?
939193.
Okay. Now we are into a brand new org. I hope there are no objects that are from the data dictionary. So I'm just trying to show you how I can quickly check what all objects are available. So I'll go to custom objects. There is only one object, right? Called student. So from our data model, there are no objects available. So if we go here, so all the object called error log, goals, right? Insurance company, all these are not available. Now see, when it comes automation, we have to take care of many various things, right? Okay, I'll first try to connect. What we'll do is go here and close the folder. Now these commands you will learn like control shift P and how I can create. So what I am trying to do is creating a new connection with this org which Rishi has just shared with me, right? So sfdx create project with manifest, or you can say just create a project. So I'll just create project with manifest. I'll say standard project name Rishi Force. I'll create somewhere on the desktop, create project. Now what it has done is it created the project with no details, empty. You see there are no details available, right? Now if I want to create or get the data, so how I can do that? So there is something called manifest package.xml. This is the place which tell me what all components I want to retrieve. So there are two things, right? One is retrieve, one is deploy. So if you see here, so if I want sandbox data on my local, so if I say, so see, this is your Salesforce where you logged in, right? You're logged in here. Whatever you're doing, it is all here. Do you have anything on your local as of today? No. That's where we talk about cloud environment and our local machine. Any of you, if you are connected with VS Code or any other way, and you've taken a backup of your objects, fields on your local, then it will be a local copy. But as of today, everything is on our cloud. What if some error occurs, or what if I lost the login credential of my org? What if my org is lost? I don't have any data, right? And as a business, It's very risky, right? If I am having a business, if any of the details someone mistakenly deleted, or someone mistakenly done something wrong, and I don't have a previous version. So for any business, we cannot go by assumptions, okay, everything will be safe. We have to have a backup plan. So that is where we should be taking a backup on our local machine, or it may be GitHub or anywhere where we call a repository management, that terminology. I'll cover it in the separate session. But what I'm trying to say, from cloud to local machine, if you want to take data, and then vice versa, right, from local machine to your cloud. So this is called your retrieve or fetch, and this is called your deploy. So when I say I am retrieving data, it means I am taking it on my local machine. And when I say I am deploying, it means I am deploying it to a org from my local machine. Clear? Or any question here? Retrieve and deploy, simple two things, right? Now we'll go back to our VS code. Now when you want to retrieve, the question comes what you want to retrieve, right? So you must be knowing the component name. So this is where we call it as a component name, and member is the detail of that component. So there are again multiple things that needs to be covered, but I'll cover it in separate sessions. But for now, you remember this type is nothing but the name of the component type, because here everything is a metadata, nothing is actual data. We are getting classes, applications. You created some app, right? So that app, within that app, what is your setting? All those things we need to fetch in here. So for that, you need to know the components. So there is one way, easy way to get that component names. I'll just tell you. Um, Create package XML in Salesforce. So see, this is a Heroku app. Someone has created this for us, right? That's where automation people keep on helping others. So getting package XML, from where you can get from here. It will give you the full-fledged package XML. What you just need to do is you need to log in with that credential. So ours is a production org, right? So if I say sometimes this happens, right? Now you saw that, right? It was having some other URL and then I was trying to log in. So it happens if you have multiple logs. If I say all components, get components, what it will do, it will create me that package XML. So if you can see, when you go to a grocery shop, right, you create a list of things you want to purchase, isn't it? If you go to DMart or if you go for shopping, you must have your list handy, right, what you need to purchase, and then you will pick up one by one things. So that's how you can imagine this is our list which we want to pick up from our sandbox. So if you give the proper list, you will get the proper components. If you mismatch the, or if you make a mistake there, you might not get that. This is the simplest example I can try to relate with the package.xml. Okay, it might take some time. So see, if I want to get your student object here, what I'll do, I'll try to add a, you can always Google for it, how to get what are the components in the, so your student object, I believe should be student underscore c, right? I don't want any other details, I can comment it out. Now I haven't connected yet with your org. So if I right click, I don't see any option. Even here, if I right click, I don't see any options to retrieve or deploy, right? So here, if you see on the bottom, it says no default org. You can click in here and say authorize an org. I am saying production org. Put your org, and then it will navigate me to the UI and it will ask me to log in. So I'll log in with your credential one more time. So this is the time you will get connected, or the VS code will get connected to your org, and then I'll get that. See, it is asking for some permissions. So it internally it uses something called Salesforce CLI. Okay, it says authentication successful. It means now I am connected to that org from my local. So this is on my local folder. So if you see here on desktop, I have that folder created, Rishi Force, right? On this folder, if I navigate main default objects, I don't have any objects as of now. Now I'll try to, what I need to do is I need to get that object, right, into your org. It is already created there, right? I just want to fetch it. So what I need to do, I need to do a right click and say deploy or retrieve.
Retrieve.
Retrieve,
Retrieve.
correct, right? So if I say retrieve, see, if the component name is correct, it will fetch, otherwise it will not fetch. What it is saying, let me do one more time.
When we retrieve or deploy the data, then both org should be in login mode.
Yeah, we, no, so we have authenticated, right?
Okay.
So from one org you can fetch the detail, other org we don't need to be in login mode.
Okay. But which org need to be login from which we want to fetch?
See, if you are fetching, you need that org to be login from where you are fetching. If you are
Hmm.
deploying, you need to be logging into that org where you are deploying.
Okay.
Okay, it is, why it is failing, let me check. Types. Okay, this I think some issue with the permission. Let me go back and open my org. Okay, I have already retrieved various things. What I will do, I'll just try to see if it works. Okay, so this is working here. There might be some issue. I don't want to spend much time there. So what I'll do, I'll show you. So on car, if you see, if I retrieve that car object, see here, I have put custom object and put all the members, right? I am able to get car. So with car only, I'll be able to get all the fields. And if you open any of the field, you will see this meta file, right? That's where we term everything as a metadata here. So what is the API name? What is the label? What it reference to? Because it is a lookup field, right? What is the relationship name? Whether it is required, true, false, history tracking enabled or not enabled, type, data type of that field. If I go to this car age, if you see this type is number, uniqueness is false, tracking, all these details, right? If there is any formula, this is a formula, then again it is showing that formula as well. Car type, if it is a pick list, it will bring the pick list values, right? SUV, sedan, truck, whatever I have put in, even pick list values are also coming in. Getting that point? So this is all about the metadata. So what I'll do quickly, I'll create one field there. Let me see which org I connected with. Okay. So I'll go to car. Now I need to create field. So I'll go to setup. What I'll do, I'll create one number field. Again, naming convention, right? My app has CD, so I'll use this and all small. Price of car. I don't want decimal places. Required, not required. Next. I want to give access to only system admin, sales manager, and standard user. I want to add it to the layout. I'll say save. Now see, I have added one field called price of car. What I'll do, I'll go to car type. I think car type we have seen. Car CD fuel type. Okay, go to fuel type. What I'll do, I'll add one or the multiple pick list options here. So other new. Okay, so fuel type I have added three pick list options, and I have added a field called price of a car. Now if I go here and go to the car fields, I don't have that price of a car, correct, on my local, and I don't have in fuel type, I only have this petrol, diesel, electric, right? So if I want to retrieve those changes, what I can do, I can go on individual field and say retrieve. If I retrieve this source, now see it has brought those things, new one, new two, new three. Getting the point here. Ankush, are you able to see like what happened? I have just retrieved and it brought me all those three options here, right? Now the other way would be like if I want to fetch all the fields, I can go on the fields, right click and you know retrieve. But my field is on the object. So what I'll do, I'll go to that package XML. I just want this. So I can specifically put this, remove all the other members as well. It's up to me how I want to do that, right? There is no harm in getting, but if you don't want any other data to be fetched, you can just fetch the related information. Okay, so what I have done is only from custom object I am trying to get the car. So if I do right click and retrieve, now here it says successfully run. If it gives some error, it will throw here itself. So now if I go to fields, are we able to see that price of a car?
Yes.
Yeah, it is here. Precision 18 0, type number, right? So this is the way you can retrieve data, you can deploy data. If suppose you don't have one of the field and you want to create, you can get it from some other org and deploy it to that org. So now suppose this is now, what I'll try to do, we'll try to deploy something on that org. Let me see why it is not working. So Rishi, if I want to create one object, right, on your org, what I need to do, I need to open this folder. At least I need to put the details, whatever I want to deploy, right? So let me go back, and objects we don't have anything. I'll try to go to that folder, reveal it in Explorer. So in this object, what I'll do, I'll put that metadata with whatever I have. So I'll go to my this is, you just need to understand whatever component name is there, it will create a folder for that. Okay, if I'll try to deploy something real quick. Let's see if it works. If there is any object which is independent, so error log fields, I'll copy this folder. Okay, and put it in your, now if I see in objects, I have this, right? It started showing up here, but actually on your org it is not there, right? If I go to your org, that is not available in schema builder. So let me see if it allows me to connect. What I need to do now, do I need to do retrieve or deploy?
Deploy.
Deploy.
Let's try to deploy. Be careful, huh? Because the delete is just above deploy. Deploy this source to org. Something is failing with your org. I'm not sure why. It's not showing any error as well. Authorized. This is the same
Yes.
user that you log in, right? Rishi, it's not with limited.
Yes. Can I log out from my system?
Yeah, just try. It should not be that, but let's see. Or anyone else who don't have this error log created can share your credential. We'll try to connect that.
I
Or
will
Komal,
share
have
my.
you created this one error log object?
No.
No, na. I'll try to connect your org then.
Can you check once?
Okay, it's giving some other error. The Apex is fine. Okay, I'll try to connect to some other org. Komal, did you change the password?
No.
It's not allowing to log in. Okay, let me check. I think I was putting at the rate. Yeah. Okay, access, manage, user, data API, all permissions are here. Let me see if it works for this org. Okay. Something is failing. Yesterday only I connected with Shashi's org and it was all successful. But okay, what I'm trying to tell is like if I have this and if I am able to deploy, all this object will start showing up on your org. Okay, I'll try one more org where, but in my org I already have these objects. But are you able to get the context, right? What I'm trying to explain. So what we are saying is the data which is on the cloud, we can get it on our local, and whatever is on our local, I can deploy it to the cloud. And simply suppose I have another org from where I have put the data on the local. I can copy that local data in the other folder and just deploy. That's how the migration works. Okay, any question around this? I wanted to cover many things on this migration where it comes to dependencies and all those stuff, but not sure why this is not working. What I'll do, I'll resolve this problem with one of you, and then we can have another session where I'll cover the remaining stuff, because this will be the half knowledge, which will, but this will only tell you the concept, but you need to see it happening in actual, right? So once we have that happening, right, getting the data and deploying it to org, I can just replicate. I can deploy it to one org, then another org, then another org. What all it takes is like just going in and right clicking, not on all the objects. I can just have all those things on the package XML, and I can right click and say deploy source in the org. It will deploy to that connected org. So what we have seen is what is VS Code, how to connect your org from VS Code, how to create a folder, how to retrieve and deploy. Right? Deploy it's not working, but that the system remains same, right? Deploying it or retrieving it. So imagine if you have everything working, and once you are able to deploy on one, deploying on other sandbox, it's just a point and click. It won't take more than a minute or two. That's where we call it as that we should be using some tools which will help us in automation. Any questions, queries? Is the concept clear, or anyone has any doubts around this concept? What we are trying to achieve here?
Hey, Abhay. Hello. This is
Yeah.
Sanjay here.
Yes, Sanjay. Yeah.
I do have one query regarding the retrieval,
Hmm.
object
Okay.
retrieval from the Salesforce database or
Okay.
metadata. So
Okay.
by default, how many objects are there in the Salesforce? Like
Default, there is a huge number of lists. It
huge
depends on
number
the
of.
license, right? It depends on the license. There are
Okay.
various licenses. I'll quickly talk through the licenses. So
Uh-huh.
say if you have developer, now whatever org we are working on, it's a free. That is
Right.
developer org,
Okay.
right? There is something called professional,
Professional.
right? Where you want to purchase some higher level of thing. Within professional as well, there are various clouds, right? Sales cloud, service cloud,
Uh,
whatever your business need, accordingly you will purchase that licenses, and the licensing
okay.
cost is per user per month.
Oh.
So it varies from 50 $60 to $100, $300, $500 per month as well. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
then from professional you will go to enterprise, which is little higher, and then big companies like Barclays or Bank of America or Morgan Stanley, all those are, or all are on the unlimited version.
Okay.
But even unlimited comes with a limit, right? It's not like unlimited.
Got it.
So there are two types of limit. One is limit to the data, and other one is limit to your file storage.
And the services as well. For example, if you
Every
are having,
service, right, right. Every
for
service.
example, service like
Hmm.
if I purchase the CRM service, so in that particular service, the list of the object what all will be
Correct,
available on the
correct,
metadata, we can retrieve all those things over here, right?
correct, right. So it depends. Like, okay, if you are purchasing only Sales Cloud,
Hmm.
so object related to sales will be available. So if I go to this, and that those details will be against across that licensing. So it's all about which product you are purchasing within that
Hmm.
license part, right? So this is high level only. Within
Okay.
this, there are hundreds of products, right? Which one you are purchasing.
Actually, no, correct. Got it.
So that way you will get the objects and the functionality. And With this you will get customization capability. Okay, how much customization you can do. So with professional, say you won't be able to use some of the out of box features. You can only use some classes or some
Mm,
validation rules or some standard things.
okay.
Okay. Yeah, anyone has any other questions around this? Specifically this one I want you to at least conceptually clear. We will again go through. I'll try if today evening or tomorrow morning we'll have a small session for half an hour where I'll keep the things ready so that it won't take much of a time. Do you need this document shared, or you are clear with the concept? You don't need this. Should I share it with you? It will be
Yes,
helpful
yes,
for you.
sure. Yes, please shared.
Okay. So see, there are few other things. Yeah. Who is there?
In messages, I think Malay has a question.
Okay. Okay. I have a question. Does it do all code, for instance, production sandbox in one go, or do we have to specify what we want to do? Okay. This is good question, right? So again, I'll tell you. Let me go back to VS Code. So both the things are possible, Malay. So answer to your question is, if you want to fetch individual things, as I shown, right? If I want to fetch only particular field or a list view or a record type, I can do that by just going to individual component and right click. But if I want to fetch all at once, right? Say I want to fetch all those things. So the important things, I need that package.xml. And in package.xml, I can put, okay, external credential, I want all. I want all the flows, right? Flow star means all. Some in some of the components you need to specify, like say custom object, I am specifying explicitly the object names. But most of the places you can say custom label, I want all. Star means all. So whatever component you can fetch all in one go. There is a limit, like okay, at one time you can fetch 5,000, 10,000, or 15,000 components. But apart from that, there is no other limit. You can fetch as many component you want, and given you are within the limit. So say one in one go you can fetch 10,000 components. You can do that. You can put everything here, like the grocery list, right? What all you need, you can put it, and in one go, if you click here, it will fetch everything. So if I say from classes, these so many classes are there on this folder, right? It's a local copy. What I can do, I can go here, not in Rishi's classes. This is my local, right? I am just deleting it. Now there is nothing on the classes side. See, everything is gone. So I can just use this. I can remove all the components and use everything. If I want only Apex class, what I'll do, I'll just say. And if I want only one Apex class, I can specify the name as well. Okay, I hope this answers the query. So what I'll do, I'll just save and say retrieve. What it will do, it will bring in all the Apex classes, and if anything else I have put in, so it will bring in car and this. Now if I go, see, all these things are pretty quickly available at my local. All the classes has come back, correct? Anyone else has any question? Feel free to ask, right? If you are asking question, everyone else is also knowing the answer. And if you see, for any class, every class has a meta file, and meta file will talk about the version. Right? We'll come to details of the version for batch 2, but batch 1, you are all aware of what is the version and what is the importance, right? Because few things get deprecated. version by version. So we need to be checking the version. We should be always on the latest version if we are changing any file. Any other question related to this retrieval and deployment?
Hey, Abhay, are you able to listen me and hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Now I am able to listen.
Okay. All right. So, actually, is it different from normal code repositories? Let's say
Mhm.
I'm kind of trying to compare it with Git
Correct, correct,
repositories or Bitbucket repositories. So, for let's say you have an instance, let's say it's a sandbox environment. So
right.
now you want to clone or you want to retrieve all the code. So the first thing you have to do is to just go to a Visual Code and create a project, and then you can
Correct. If
uh,
you are from Visual Force, you can connect to GitHub.
all right. So for every instance, you have to first do is create a project and then link your org or link your instance
Correct,
to that and retrieve all the code.
correct. There are tools as well. So if you have a separate team, right, which does that DevOps activity, so there are various tools. You can configure that within GitHub with the use of some tools, and you need not log in and get this from here. You can log in from directly from there and get that structure. But yeah, for sure, you need to provide that package. Without package, it won't understand what I need to fetch.
So once we create a project, does this package.xml have all the things that can be fetched as a default,
No, no,
or
no.
do we have to every time create this file?
So we have to create. So for that creation, there are Salesforce documentation where you can find, okay, what components you want to retrieve. You can get that, or you can get the full XML. That's what I showed you a way, right? I logged in somewhere where I wanted to get the full. Let me see where I logged in. Package.xml. Okay, see here, I showed you this app na, to get the full package XML for your org. So what I have done, get, all of you can try this one, right? Get package.xml. There is a Heroku app. Even someone might have shared on the GitHub a sample full package XML. You can utilize that as well. But while using that, you have to make sure what you want. You can keep it, and rest of the things you can remove. So this is a tool someone has created for us, right? One of the developers. So with this, what I'm doing, I'm logging into production. In your case, you might be logging into Sandbox when it comes to your company, right? So when I say production, I log in. But before using any of these tools, right, in your actual project, for now you can use in your actual project. Always make sure you take a permission from your team lead or from your managers, because some of the tools, as a business, right, there might be uh, free tools and they won't allow. So in that case, you might refer to some Git and get that package XML, or your lead can assist you on that. Or you can even check in Salesforce documentation, like how to fetch. Okay, I want to fetch classes. What component type I need to specify in package? If I want to fetch objects, how I can do that? Even here, there is some tool called package generator. Let me show you if I have that. Package. So, Malay, in short, there are various things.
Okay.
Package generator is here as well. You will have that Salesforce package generator extension. So if you, I think I already have this. Let me see what, why it is not coming. Okay, I'm looking at the wrong place. If I go here, here if you see Salesforce package generator, this is a kind of UI tool. It's very handy. So you just need to search what you want, right? Here you will be able to select everything with the org you are connected. So if you want any of the component, everything will be available here. If you want to select object, just type in object, custom object. It will pull all the object from your org. Account, I want activity, address, this. And I'll say update package XML. So what it will do, it will update my package XML. See, it updated that. So you don't need to know everything, right? You need to know the tools available. So this is one way. Other way is here. You can log in, and when you log in, you can say I want full or I want partial, whatever you want. All components, exclude, managed, no package, all, and get components. So that's what I did for Rishi's org, and I am able to get all the components, right? All these things are available here. So I got everything from Rishi's org in this component file. I can just copy this file, paste it in that XML, and right click and fetch. That way also I can get the entire code, right? Any other questions? This is not an easy step, right? People take almost like 2-3 years to understand these things. But what I'm trying to show here is it's not that difficult. You just need to know the right fundamentals, right? What is this? Why we need retrieve, deploy, how we can have a local copy, because everything is on cloud here. So we should always maintain a local copy. In case something is lost, you can always log in, create another org and deploy that. So any other question before we wrap up? What I'll do, I'll cover the remaining topics in the next session. So what we are remaining with: version, licensing, code flow. Basically we are still pending with the VS code. Actually I want to show you the demo and the errors and the dependencies, and then always we can have this data loader. We have already learned. I wanted to cover it for a few new people. Okay, anything else? This I'll share with you. Prajakta, any questions on this, or are you able to relate?
No, it is bit little bit confusing to grasping, but it is okay.
Okay, just try
Yeah.
to understand the basics, and once you start using VS code it will become very easy. I want you all
Yes.
to have VS code setup, and whatever you are creating now, you just try to take that backup. So once you start using that, it will become very easy for you. Understanding in one go, it's really difficult. I don't want to you or you any one of you to understand each and everything, but just if you are getting the overview, in next session it will be very easy for me to explain it to you, and it will be easy for you to digest. And I'll share that link of the previous session where you can see how to install VS code. So I want you all to install the VS code, and next session I can ask any one of you to show me, like, okay, are you able to connect with your org on the VS code? Okay, and I hope that is fine with every one of you. Okay, with that we can